Hello, you are watching St. Joseph Evangelization Network. My name is Mark Serafino, and I'm here with our guests, Michael and Mary Hayworth. They are longtime residents of the St. Louis area, and they are co-hosts of two of the new radio programs available on St. Joseph Radio. Man to Man, which is hosted by Mark Serafino, same name as me, and Michael Hayworth, and Woman to Woman, which we'll ask Mary to tell us about that program momentarily. But before we get started on talking about our programs, I thought maybe it would be great if we could learn a little bit about you. So Mike, Mary, tell us about yourselves.
Wow. So we met in Phoenix, Arizona. So I was in the Air Force and had just really started. We were at Luke Air Force Base in Phoenix, Arizona. And we met one night and we started dating. Really quickly after that, I got orders to Korea. And then I went there for a year, but we continued to talk. And then we got married right after Korea. Mm-hmm. And we went to Germany. And we've been together for 35 years.
35 years married.
Wow.
And total knowing each other about 37, 38, if you count like the time that he was away.
It's an impressive milestone in today's culture.
It really is. I remember it was so exciting to get to the 5-year mark and then the 10, and you get to the big numbers, and so 35 is really cool.
It is. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I wish more families and more couples could tell stories like yours with so many years, and obviously, God willing, so many more years ahead of you. So I mentioned at the start of this that there are two new radio programs, Man to Man, and hopefully our viewing audience has already had the opportunity to listen to both programs. Mike and I, we've done 3 programs so far. We have another one coming up very, very soon. And the crux of the program has really been a conversation about manhood, true manhood, and reinstating the qualities and the attributes of what it means to be a man in today's world, not just as a Catholic man. Catholic man is extremely important, but sometimes we can come away with the impression that that is simply as it relates to our faith. But Catholic manhood should extend to every part of our lives, and that's what our conversations are about. And Mary, I understand Woman to Woman has had its first program. Could you tell us something about it?
Sure. We just had the one program. We have another one ready to go next week. And my co-host is Corey Grizzle. And she's just a lovely wife and a mother and a lifelong Catholic. And she's, I think, a mother of 10, I believe. And she's on the spectrum of she has grown children, and then she also has, like, I think the youngest is about 5. And then, I compliment her in that, well, like, our children are older now, and they're grown, and they're doing very well. But I was a lapsed Catholic for a number of years, a good portion of my adult life. And so we, are going to be just talking about what it means to be a Catholic in the world, and maybe hopefully answer some questions. Like, you're not alone. Many times you feel like you're alone in your thoughts about the faith, and we're also called to learn more, continually learn our entire lives. And I've already learned a little bit, and we just hope that we can just help some people and kind of navigate in the world. It's kind of difficult.
So why do you think the programs, both Man to Man and Woman to Woman, are important or necessary? Why now?
Oh, well, the family is under attack. And the answer has been more to have more conversation from a man's point of view, and to understand what your role is in the family. There's a lot of other opinions or ways of looking at how you can lead in a family, but from a Catholic point of view, we kind of look at it more from a servant leader, somebody that's willing to offer themselves for the other, no matter what the situation is. And it doesn't matter if it's for your wife or for your children, and that I am third is what you've brought up several times, is how we place ourselves in the order. And it's not about being last, it's about being able to serve in a way that allows others to do well and learn the faith well and live out their vocation just as well as what our part is in that vocation.
Thanks. Mary, Mike and I have been very outspoken in saying that there's a challenge in manhood in our culture today. And we want to call that challenge out, and we've kind of started to dip into some of those areas are. I'm curious, do you feel that there's a challenge in womanhood today too? And if so, is it similar, or where does that rank on the scale with gender challenges that we're facing?
Well, I think it's too often focused on it's a competition between men and women, and it's more of a complementary relationship, that there's just certain things that I cannot do, but then there's also things that I can do that men can't. And too much in society is telling, you have to do this, you have to do this to be fulfilled in your life. And many times those things don't make women happy in the long run. And it's a constant battle in the world with the family to keep the family intact. And it's just so necessary to talk about these things. As I said earlier, a lot of people are lonely out there, and to be able to reach people is very important.
Absolutely. Mary, you are in some ways the author of a program that Mike and I are working on that we call Ask the Old Guys. And you're the author because you literally gave us the title. But the program is really meant to reach out to younger men, newer, younger fathers, and talk to them about some of the attributes of manhood in the home and in the workplace and in the world. And in that group, we have about 8 men who we've been meeting with. We meet monthly. We've had 3 months worth of meetings so far, and a 4th one coming in just about 2 weeks. And a couple of things that we've seen, first of all, is an eagerness and a willingness to meet. And we've also seen those 1 or 2 times when someone couldn't make it. This past weekend, had someone come to me and say, "Hey, I missed the last meeting. What did you guys talk about?" So there's a tremendous willingness by these young men to want to ask more, and what should I do? Do you feel like women face that same kind of challenge, younger women?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because many of our formations were very lacking in the, and to meet other like-minded people and to glean from them their life experiences. And women, we tell stories and talk through things, and they might say something like that, something that they're experiencing, and it's really beneficial. Like when you understand that other people are experiencing those things, whether it's your child rearing always has its own challenges, but every child's different, and so you're talking to another mother and have they experienced this, and it helps us, and what we were talking about, like you're meeting with this group of men, and none of us are experts by any mean, and but we have a few life experiences that may be of benefit to someone else.
That's true.
And I was just going to add that some of those experiences are things that you don't want to do. So that's some of the things that we like to say, hey, look, this was a challenge that I had to deal with, and this is my response, but it wasn't the right response.
Right. Mike and I are good at emphasizing our failures. Because really, that's how you learn.
That's how you learn.
Through your own and someone else's failure. And that's where I think we fit, in the sense that we're not meeting with these young men and saying, listen, do everything I do, watch me, I'll show you how to be a man. I mean, that would be the most foolish thing a person can do. Rather, what we're saying is that there's a likelihood, there's actually a statistical likelihood. I find this shocking. This Sunday, when you go to Mass, just take a moment and look around the congregation and think to yourself that statistically half of the people in your church grew up in a home racked by divorce. So the lack of cohesion in the family, and this is not to imply that one or the other parent is better or worse than the other, because even if you have the best father in the world, if there is a custody situation with the children, they get to see dad 26 weekends a year, 1, maybe 2 weeks for vacation. which is always going to be vacation, something to do that's fun and enjoyable. So that they lose that cohesiveness in having a dad present in the house. And that's one of the things we've talked about, Mike, a lot, is that, some of these men, it's very clear. In fact, in our group, better than 50% of the men that are there grew up in a home that was broken by divorce. So I have to assume the same situation happens for young women, that they've grown up without a dad present in their home, and they've grown up with mom having to be dad. And that's got some really devastating effects on people.
Right. It kind of sets a precedence that you don't want to have happen. But now we're at this point where at least 50% or more have had it happen. And we'd like to see that trend change. And that's not going to happen overnight. No. This is one of those things that will take time, and we have to be patient with it. And it's going to happen, what you mentioned several times before, as a grassroots, one person at a time, conversation at a time. It's not a mass solution that the government can provide or anything like that. It's just something that has to be at the discussion of a person to person.
That's right. That's right. So Mary, looking forward in Woman to Woman, what do you think some of the topics you might be discussing in coming programs might be?
Well, the next one we're going to be talking about Humanae Vitae and the value of life from its earliest beginnings, and I always add to its natural end, and just talking about living your Catholic faith in the life. It's a brand new program, and so Corey and I were just kind of gauging, kind of things that we want to talk about, but Humanae Vitae would be our next topic. So I don't have.
That's a great topic. You can probably do several shows on
probably,
Humanae Vitae.
Yes.
So it seems in our conversation here this time that there's a need, and we're just 3 people, minus Corey, 4 people who are just trying to make a little tiny dent, a ripple in the wave, if you will, to try to initiate a conversation that then initiates change. So I think what we could do, if we did nothing else today, is we could encourage you who are watching this to get together, form together with people in your parish, people in your family, in your neighborhood, and begin to start a conversation, not so much to say, oh, look how horrible this is, or this generation, they're worthless. That conversation is, I would even argue, sinful. I would really suggest maybe the conversation is more about how can we work together to help each other to learn and grow, because I can promise you that Mike and I have grown and learned in spending time with these young men. I find them invigorating. So I think as we move our programs forward, the idea is to take this conversation that is produced, you can watch it, you can listen to it, but to say, take this to the streets, make it grassroots, and have a conversation from coast to coast that with the intention of really and truly bringing people together to restore Catholic culture and to restore Catholic civilization in the way that God intended it to be. I think
that's really lovely. Yeah, that's a great goal. And there were times where Jesus, he converted, thousands, but most often it was one-on-one. It's very, and throughout history, it's the one-on-one. There are times that you might get a big group or something, but and that's the one thing that I've noticed is that there's just no. We have all this communication, but there's really no dialogue,
That's so
and
true. Yeah.
and I think people are really thirsting just to talk to another human being.
And be willing to make a mistake, be willing to make those missteps and not be punished for it.
And have the humility.
And have the humility.
So here's one thing I promise you, that no matter who wins the next election, presidential, or federal, local, no matter who it is that wins on either side, this problem will continue to exist because they can't solve it. So it's critical time now, folks. We can't wait for someone to come and solve it. It's really up to us. And we, as one of the older generations, we have an obligation to help the people who are behind us and coming up to continue to sustain our country and make it the great place that it is.
Absolutely.
You've been watching Man to Man on St. Joseph Evangelization Network. Check back for more content from this program coming your way.